Google's Nano Banana Pro is here, and it's a serious step up in AI image generation. With 5 new features, let's check out what it can do. With our workflow, we're going to come through and just submit a request. We're simply going to enter our prompt in here, which is saying that we want the focus to be on a pink dress, like we were having that photo shoot. We're now going to be able to upload the 5 reference images that we've got of 5 individual elements. We're going to say we want it to be 16:9, and we'll just say a 1K image output. We'll do submit, and now on autopilot, it's going to go through and complete that process for us. Starting off, we're going to get that user input. We're going to split out each of those files that we want it to reference, temporarily store them whilst we generate our image, then go through and generate the image and download it for us to see. And there we go. After a couple of seconds, we've got our image back. And as you can see, it's now included all of those elements we asked for: the dress, the photo, the plant, the chair, and the individual. And if you want to get access to it straight away, check the first link down below and you'll be able to get access to it. In today's video, we're going to walk through what the new changes are with Google's Nano Banana Pro and how this workflow actually works. So what's new with Nano Banana Pro? Well, we've got 5 brand new elements. We've got the advanced text rendering, and this is a real step up in the performance. If we come across to some of the examples, which I'll include down below so that you can find them, as we can see here, that storyboard has been nailed. We're now able to read, which I think was quite a clever tactic from Google to use something like this. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Of course, we've got the different countries here as well. We've got typography. We've got the different, for example, logos that you could use. Lots of different generations, and at the end here, I really like this one because it's got the context for that output as well. And this is just the start. It's also got real-world understanding because it can search the internet and bring in different elements that it needs. So for example, for this demo, Google also gave it the reference of this wiki page, which explained how solar power works. It then was able to go through and generate a simple explanation for us to understand. Another example is here, where it was asked to create an infographic based on a plant that it was given, and not even the entire plant, just a section of it. And it was able to go off and get all of that information back for us. If we come across more examples around how it's able to do that, if we come down, it can also translate text as well, which is amazing for those marketing use cases. And we've got an entire marketing deep dive video on this. We've also got the ability to, as mentioned, include lots and lots of different ones. We can control the quality of the output in a much finer details. We can zoom in. We've got lots and lots of different control over those images than we did before. If we come back to the feature, we've got those precise editing controls, as I mentioned, zooming in, zooming out, changing the style. It's much, much better at this. The next part is the 2K resolution, all the way up to 4K as well. We've got significantly higher quality images getting produced than we did with, of course, the normal original version. The other side of this as well is we can now finally change the aspect ratio of those images as well. So now if you wanted to go through and do it in a 9:16 or 16:9 format, you're able to do that straight away, again, without the watermark. The other side is, as I mentioned, it's got that real world knowledge. If we come across to Google Studio, what you'll be able to see in the corner here is that we're able to use the tool of Google Search. So when you activate this, if you're using it in here, it will be able to go off, get some extra context around that request you've provided, and generate it for us. If we come back across, the last but not least is we're now able to combine even more photos, up to 14 in fact, for when we put those requests through. In today's video, we're going to walk through the multiple reference image version first, because most of you are going to want to use that. We're then going to walk through how you can use Nano Banana with one reference image on autopilot. And last but not least, the simplest way with a simple text to image request. So now let's jump into how the workflow works. As you can see here, we're able to capture our request using a form. But you'll be able to do this like with Airtable we show in our marketing video and any other way. In here, what we need to do is be able to capture the request from the user, as you can see here, how many images we want them to upload. With Kie, we're only going to be able to upload a maximum of 8 images. We're then going to come down. There are lots and lots of different options for the aspect ratio, but I've just included the 3 most common ones in there for us to use, and we've got the resolution as well. If we come out of here, now what we're going to do first of all is check, are we having a reference image attached? If we do, that means that we want it to be an image to image generation. If it doesn't, that means we're going to be doing text to image, purely giving it a prompt and asking for an output. The next phase that we're doing here is if we do have a reference image attached, like we can see here, we're then going to go through and check, does another one exist? Because then if we've got more than one reference image, the process needs to be slightly different. If it does have multiple images, then what we're going to come and do is use a split out code node that's going to take all of these binary files that we can see on the left here and instead make them individual items for us to be able to process. So as we can see here, we've got image 1 of the drawing. We've then got image 2 of the plant pot. We've got image 3 of the chair that we want to be included, image 4 of our individual that we want to have, and image 5 of that dress. So now we've got each individual image, we can go through and convert it into a base 64 string. Now what this looks like is a super long text string that basically explains in simple terms what the image content actually is. The reason we need to do this is because then we're able to store it temporarily on the cloud for us to be able to access. We're not able to use platforms like Google's G Drive or anything like that to reference because unfortunately the encryption behind it means that we can't. So in this use case, we're using a totally free platform called IMGBB to host our images temporarily for free and be able to reference them for our request. So what we're doing is using a HTTP request, as we can see here. And if I come across to the API documentation, which I'll include linked down below, this is what that curl request looks like. So if you're doing this yourself, you just need to copy this curl request, come back into n8n, and then we're going to do a add node and HTTP request. You'll then be able to import that curl from IMGBB and you'll be all set up, ready to go. If we come down, you just need to change your API key. If you're doing lots of images, make sure to increase that expiration because as Nano Banana Pro is so popular at the moment, it can take a little while to go through and generate those images. Now, if you're wondering where all of the actual image data is, that's where we've got json.data, as you can see here. We're just going to show it quickly on the left-hand side with show data. This is going to be the long text string, which is all of that information around the image and the data that sits behind it for those 5 unique images that we've generated. If I open this up, what you'll see in here is a super long text string, which again is all of that information regarding that file. And what this is doing is it's telling IMGBB all of the contents of that document so that we can store it nice and easily. If we come out of here, we're going to do a delete of that. And that explains why we're going through one by one. Because what we can't do is upload all 5 of these images in one go. What we need to do is convert each of them into that long text string to be able to store them. That's why we are splitting them out into individual items. Once we've done that and we've stored all of them in IMGBB, we then need to have the URLs of where we've stored them to be able to use them in our request to generate the image. So as we can see here, this is one of the example images, which in this case is for our dress. And as you can see there, I'm able to load it up on another tab because we don't need any of the secure encryption like we do with Google. We do have how to use it in Airtable, so definitely check out the marketing video. We're then using a merge node because what we need to be able to do is reference some of the elements from our on-form submission. Specifically, we need to be able to use the image prompt, the aspect ratio, and the resolution. If you don't have the merge node, then it's going to get slightly confused because of the 5 items going through, and he won't know what one to reference. This way, what it means is we make sure that we've got all of that data readily available for our request. What you'll also notice as well, and something to mention, is of course we don't want to be triggering that request 5 times. So that's why we're formatting those URLs into this long text array here for us to be able to go through and do our request. So once we've formatted them, merged the earlier information together, combined it all for us to use, we can then go through and trigger that image generation with Kie. The reason we're using Kie, if we come across, is because it's cheaper than going to Google Studio directly. As we can see here, each image is going to be around 24 credits, which is roughly 12 cents. This is about 20% cheaper than using Google AI Studio directly. If you want to use it in the easy no-code interface, you can do that in here. You simply add the prompt, some reference images, change the aspect ratio, and more. If you want to see how to use it with our n8n workflow and automated way, we need to come across to API. We'll then be able to come down to where we've got create a job and an example reference. As we can see here, this is an example request that we'd be triggering. What you need to do is copy this curl request, come back across to your n8n instance if you haven't got the blueprint, do HTTP request, import that curl, and now it will be set up to trigger that process. You'll need to come down and add your API key in here. So to do that, come back across to your account, come up to API Market, come across to billing, make sure that you've got some credits readily available. Then you want to come up to API key, create a key. In this use case, I've already got an example one generated. So we'll copy that, come back across and replace it in there. Once you've got those credentials authorized, that's where we're going to need to change some of the body that we're sending across, which contains all of the information around what reference images you have, the size of the image, the aspect ratio, and fundamentally the prompt or instruction that you want the AI to complete. So we're going to delete this and come into our example. What we can see here is we're not referencing any of these binary images because we can't upload them directly into Kie. Instead, what we're doing, if we scroll down, is we've got our credential here to make sure that it can be triggered. If I open up the schema that we've got here, what we're then doing instead is saying that we want to use our Nano Banana Pro model here. We're giving it the instruction from all the way back at the start with our on-form submission, which is this one here. So you just pull that across and use it in there. The aspect ratio, this again is a user input, so it'll be 16:9, which you just put across into there. Same with the resolution and output format and even the input images. Now, to be able to use the input images, you may not see it in that original one that you had. So if I just add in our curl request example again, I'll show you how we go through and just change it. So if you see in the example, it doesn't actually say input image as a file. So what you want to do is come up to the playground. You want to add an example image in here like I've just done quickly. You then just want to change it from form to JSON, and then it will show you exactly the same structure as what our API body is sending across. As you can see here, if I just zoom in, we can now see that we've got input image and an array. So that's where you just need to copy that, come back across to the starter template, do comma, enter, and paste, and now you'll be able to add your reference images in there to generate new images based on the files that you've already got. So that's how we've updated our HTTP request. If we open that up in here, what we're also doing as well from the code node that we used earlier on is after we've stored all of those images in IMGBB, like we can see here, we're then going through putting all of those URLs into one long array, which basically means it's storing all of those URLs one after another, and we're going to be using them as the input image here. So now it knows that we've got these 5 images that we want to use as references. We want the output to be PNG, the quality to be 1K, aspect ratio of 16:9, and our instruction is just that we want it to combine all of the images and have it in an Art Studio output. So now, if we come out of here and do save, we're then going through storing our task ID so that no matter which workflow it comes through, we're going to be able to process the rest in here. To be able to retrieve our image, we're going to be using, if I come back across to our API documentation, the query task. In here, you'll see the HTTP request here. Again, copy this, come across, pull down and do HTTP, and then just import the curl, and this is the base that we've used. What we've done in here is we're basically asking for the latest update for that image being generated. What we'll see in here is that we've got that task ID that's come from our task ID earlier on. So this is where we've triggered that generation, is output to task ID, and then we've just stored it in this sets node here for us to be able to use. Again, if you've not used that before, put a cross on the left-hand side, and now we can use that task ID. It's then going to keep looping through here until the status of that image actually is success. Otherwise, it's going to loop through the generating path, coming back round, waiting another 5 seconds, getting the status, and so on and so forth. If it fails, you can also add that in here, maybe to get a Slack notification, a text message, anything like that to tell you the workflow failed. However, if the status is succeeded here, so again, delete this, put across the state success, make sure that it says is equal to success. You'll also be able to double check that if you come down here to the documentation, that the different status values that it can have is waiting, queuing, generating, success, or fail. So if we come back across, once we've actually gone through and generated that image in Kie, all we simply need to do is use this results JSON URL here to be able to get the outputs. Now, what you'll notice with this, if I just put across the normal version, is it's going to give you everything and you won't be able to download it. So the updated command here is basically going to pull out that URL that's already been generated. And then as you can see here, we've got the output ready to go. And if you wanted to save that into your Google Drive or anything else, you can do that nice and easily. So now we've gone through the most complex version with our multiple images, but realistically, the use case that most of you are going to want to use. So now let's start off with how we can use that single reference image. Again, we'll come across and trigger a process. So we're going to give it a command, please change the sign to say the AI Edge. We're then just going to upload our reference image there. Again, 16:9, 1K just to get the quicker response and send it off. Now, same as before, it's going to recognize that we've got that reference image for us to use. It's going to change it into that base 64 string for us to be able to store it in our free IMGBB account, because of course we can't upload a file directly. It needs to be the string contents of what that image file is, how it works, what it looks like, everything like that. We're then generating it with one reference image, going through checking the status and downloading the output. If I check it out, as we can see here, and this is one of the brand new features I absolutely love about Nano Banana Pro, it absolutely nails being able to do the text and the outputs. As you can see here, it's even got the shadows in the background, and we could upscale that to look even better with other models out there as well. So it's able to nail that straight away with the text. Now let's go through and just check out the text to image. So we're going to do execute workflow. We're going to say that we want a plasticine figure of Chandler Bing from Friends. So definitely let me know down below who your favorite character was. We don't need to upload any reference image for this. We're going to say 16:9 and 1K for the quality. We'll do submit, and now it's going to go through super quick as we don't need to store any reference images. Loop through the process to go and generate our image. Again, only waiting those 5 seconds to get the outputs, and then we're going to be able to download and see that end result. So think about how many of these you can do on autopilot every single day. Definitely check out our marketing video if you're interested in that. If we now do view, as we can see here, we've got that plasticine figure coming back of Central Perk and Chandler sat on the sofa. So that's a really quick walkthrough just on how Google's Nano Banana performs and how you can run it on autopilot in the background. Make sure to check that first link down below if you want the resources, and of course, I'll see you in the next one.